Everything is so simple and fast that you can implement it in 10 minutes and immediately see results.
Who is this? We checked him out. His company has a turnover of 2 billion. Is he your partner?
Our conversion rate just keeps growing and growing, so Ishka is apparently learning and giving even more accurate consultations. And recently I checked the data, almost 90% of our dialogues are turning into leads.
Alright guys, this is a video with our partner. This is Ilya Volodin from Innovat.ai. Hi Ilya.
Yeah, hi everyone.
It's so great to see you again, and to call you 100 times every single day.
Likewise.
Ilya, tell us please, you have such a rich entrepreneurial background. How did you end up getting into artificial intelligence? Why did you decide to get into this particular business? Tell us, Katya, in a way that will be interesting for everyone.
Yeah, for 20 years I was involved in solid, serious, large-scale businesses. I had a chain of electronics stores, and there was also a manufacturing business. We had a turnover of more than 3 billion, but I was always drawn to IT somehow. And lately, let's say, I've been even more drawn to doing something that benefits people, not just dealing with selling goods. I did mentoring at Google, worked as a mentor in Russia since I had accumulated a lot of experience. And then there was Maxim. It was probably something that happened beyond our control. I was just thinking about what I should do next. And Maxim, whom I had talked to a year ago, suddenly wrote to me and said, "Mom, hey, I've got a cool idea." He told me about it and I was immediately hooked. What hooked me was that it was something really interesting. I saw in this service that it provides much more value than it costs. That's a very important point for me since I've chosen a mission for myself to help entrepreneurs, and I saw a tool for that. It's a great tool that lets you achieve better results without increasing your advertising budget. This idea really grabbed me and I liked it a lot. That's why I joined the team.
You just touched on several important points at once. Listen, yesterday I handed over a client to you, a large company. They wrote to me, "Who is this? We checked him out. His company has a turnover of 2 billion. Is this your partner?" It's a new direction and people are like, wow, the CEO and owner of a company with a 2 billion turnover is coming to sell and consult for a website. Yes, he truly believes in it. And he'll probably go on to build a company with a different growth dynamic than the one you're looking at now. This demonstrates his commitment and vision for innovation.
Yes, with a different level of profitability, I'd say, because the trading business is always about high turnover and low margins. Yes, right now I personally interact with all the clients because I need to understand them. I also give you a lot of feedback so I can really feel and grasp what the clients are about. I've realized one important thing in life, and by the way, you were the first to point this out to me, that first you need to observe. First, you need to really understand the client's pain points and their entire journey, and only after that, switch to scaling mode.
It works out. Yes, I myself learn from other successful people. Yes, from those who are making things happen.
Learn to listen, yes, and learn to listen to the client, because often relying on your own entrepreneurial experience, the markets and life itself change drastically, especially now and very quickly. So that's why. But you definitely need to go to the client, listen to them, see what's happening and how things are going for them in order to create a great product.
Listen, when we first started discussing this whole thing, I just told you about the business, but then when I started showing the product, I was like, wait a minute, we've already paid money and have been working for several months on exactly the same product. Then you were like, so tell me more about it.
No, it's not the same. So here's the story. I know the guys, they're a cool company that makes interesting devices. I told them, guys, there's this great service. And they asked, how much does it cost? I told them and I could see their mood shift a bit. They said, we've already ordered a custom development. I asked, how long have they been working on it? They said, about a month. I asked, and how much did it cost? 200. I said, well, Igor. Well, yeah, kind of.
And there will be another 200 because...
Yes, there will be another 200 because later things will need to be refined and finished, and then the usual story happens. just like everyone else, the IT guys disappear somewhere, and who will take care of it then is a big question. That's why I recommended switching to platform-based solutions.
Cool, that's interesting. Listen, what was your first impression? How do people generally react? You said you went out into the field yourself, doing this in parallel and getting feedback, right? So, what do people actually think?
Look, there's an interesting conclusion I've come to. There are two types of people, and probably the same goes for business. The most successful guys make decisions instantly. Our first case was when I called one of the clinics. The owner said, yes, we'll implement it the very next day, or actually even on the same day. They put the assistant on the website, and it literally took him, I don't know, half an hour. And that very same day, they got new clients. And now our system, this is what I was talking about when the cost is much lower than the benefit. And I genuinely get a lot of satisfaction from this. When you see that for 10,000 rubles, people got clients worth 2 million in just over 20 days. And that's awesome. There are people who take a long time to make decisions, and there are people who don't look for easy ways. And while they're hesitating, others are out there making money. That's why I recommend everyone to make decisions quickly. What's especially great about the service and what I really enjoy is that everything was made so simple and fast that you can implement it in 10 minutes and start seeing results right away.
By the way, in our development process, when you stand out, I've marked you and everything that comes from you. Listen to it because you've shared a lot of useful tips with us. We're actually recording some of them, and it's not for nothing that you said those things. We've already implemented some of them. But that's great. We wish there were more people like you who help us improve, because we don't just get feedback from clients, but also from partners. And it's important to us that it's convenient for you first and foremost, so you can do things faster. And so when you
Decide on something.
ask to make it in news, because there are some minor glitches there, I'm like, guys, go ahead, do it, do it. He shows me, and I think it should be done.
That's always how I approach things. If I join a project, I dive into it completely. And since we're in the same boat, I believe we need to make the service better. I think it's extremely important to really listen carefully to the client. So right now, at this very moment, I'm personally on the front lines myself, communicating directly, actively listening, and immediately giving you detailed feedback, Matakuni. And I see what I like. Everything gets done very quickly and efficiently. For example, we talk about something, we discuss an idea or a suggestion, and just a few days later, it's already rolled out, as they say in metal. It's already fully developed, implemented, and working in practice. This rapid turnaround is something I truly appreciate.
We try to keep up the pace, yeah. Listen, tell me, in which areas has Misha Bezos already tried to implement this? Maybe there are some standout cases, or on the contrary, maybe there are some negative cases. We're not saying here that we help 100% of people after all.
Yes, there's a very interesting conclusion. I've looked into different industries. It definitely works in medicine. Wherever there's heavy traffic, our assistant does a great job of easing the load on call centers. When people think, well, give it a try, I say, what do you have to lose? You set it up, it costs next to nothing, and it pays for itself in 2 days. And the additional indirect benefits it brings, just think about how many consultations it handles, besides the leads it passes on already qualified, right? It also conducts a ton of consultations. In other words, your website isn't just sitting there silently. Some people say, well, I wish I was getting hundreds of leads. But I tell them, look, you've had hundreds of consultations and your website wasn't silent. It was interacting with clients, and the clients were satisfied. That's why wherever there's good organic traffic, the results are really impressive. We're actually bringing in a lot of new clients. There are some interesting cases where even with low traffic, like with a private school, for example, the traffic was very small, and we wondered if it would help or not, if we'd be useful. I called the director and he said, listen, in just 2 weeks we got maybe 8 leads, but all of them converted into paying clients, and we made back our investment several times over just from this. Plus, there's ongoing support and constant interaction, so it really works. Of course, there are also interesting cases that expose SEO specialists and promoters, because there are cases where the site gets huge numbers of visits. Right now, we're working on this case, trying to figure it out. So there's a lot of traffic, a lot of people coming to the site, but then there's no interaction with the AI, with our assistant. I call the marketing department and say, guys, is there something wrong on our end? I ask, do you have any leads at all? They say, we don't have any calls, nothing. I say, La, you definitely need to look into your ad purchases. You're definitely buying the wrong kind of ads. Because this is clearly some kind of bot traffic or just completely untargeted. It's interesting too. It's like real monitoring, exposing what's really going on. Now, I even recommend to many people to set this up just for that reason, even on beginner websites, just to see how well and effectively the advertising is actually being purchased. Because you can end up wasting huge budgets. We actually have 2 such cases. People are spending around 150,000 in budget. By the way, this is in the construction sector, yes. There was actually very little interaction with Beto, a 150,000 at budget, and there were no calls either. But our assistant managed to hook a client for 70,000. The only benefit that the ad campaign brought was that our AI managed to hook one client. There are still some questions about what kind of traffic it was because there was a lot of traffic but no results. Everywhere there is good organic or targeted traffic, the assistant definitely delivers very high results. For example, right now, if we look at the medical field, our conversion rate keeps growing and growing. So it seems the AI is learning and providing even more accurate consultations. And according to the latest data I checked, almost 90% of dialogues are turning into leads.
It's just that the traffic is really good, so we shouldn't stop it.
Yeah, I think even yesterday,
Overall, it's 64% across the system. Yeah, that's really the case. They just have good traffic, we've trained well, and that's the result.
yes, their organic traffic is strong. People are searching for them directly in search engines. So the results there are really good, really impressive. That's why often the question isn't about our assistant, but about the overall quality of the traffic that's being attracted. And often, as current practice shows, it's about 50-50. In many projects, there's really a trend that the traffic being purchased is clearly not the right kind, not targeted.
Yeah, that's true. Listen, if it's an appropriate question, could you tell me, what is the average check you usually sell your solution for these days?
At the time of testing, the conditions were very attractive, but I'm just grateful to the people. Thank you. To those who agreed to do some of the initial things, yes. But now I see checks starting from 10 and up. Because if you just do the basic math, the AI replaces entire call centers in some projects that interact with clients. That is, to conduct that many consultations, you would need a huge number of people. And even for small websites, having an employee is much more expensive than, say, paying 20,000 for a system that constantly provides customer support and does so with such high quality that it's hard to tell it apart from a real person, or maybe even better because it communicates politely. Processing the flow of clients brings an absolutely enormous benefit from the service because just handling all these incoming requests and responding to everyone, well, an assistant can give tens of thousands of replies a day if needed. No employee or even a huge call center could handle this volume. That's why it takes a huge load off, and on top of that, it really boosts customer loyalty. Plus, irrelevant requests don't even reach the sales department at all. For sales, this is a golden solution. The sales team works only with warm leads who have already been surveyed and whose needs have been identified. And sometimes we see that a person communicates for 2 days, there's a 2-day conversation, and then suddenly a fully formed result is sent to the sales department. The sales team then works with ready-made data. They already know what the client wants, when they want it, the budget, and everything else. This greatly simplifies the work for the sales department, allowing them to make more precise and higher quality offers. And I think that most likely the client is also very satisfied with this kind of interaction. Because in my experience with other similar situations, you sit there typing and typing in the chat, and then the chat just disappears somewhere, and then an operator comes in and starts questioning you all over again. You're like, guys, I already wrote all this to you. I spent my time on it. Oh, sorry, could you write it again? And it just goes in circles. Then you get distracted. The operator changes, but the new operator starts asking you all over again. So we don't have that problem. With us, the entire history is saved, and as a result, the sales department doesn't have to deal with all of that anymore. And I think this will really improve the quality and even increase sales conversion because the sales department is focused on all targeted actions They're not wasting time on this nonsense that actually takes up a huge amount of time, having to remember what happened, where it happened, interacting with the client again, and annoying them by asking the same thing for the 10th time.
When we came up with this, that was pretty much the idea, because I said, I want to be able to come back to the right website in 6 months and for everything we discussed to be remembered by this thing so I wouldn't have to explain it all over again. What I did there last time, right? And instead, I want to pick up right where I left off. CRM systems were supposed to solve this, but not everyone has them properly implemented so that people actually use them. But here it turns out we can automate this, and that's exactly what we've done. And in today's world, I think that's great, especially like you said. Recently, I had an experience with Tinkoff, and I had to repeat myself 12 times. I kept explaining over and over what I wanted.
It's really painful, truly painful. I run into this all the time myself and think, why? Just why?
Doesn't anyone fix this? By the way, why would a business need this? For our business, for example, I'm like, oh man, guys, we've just started working together as a team. And honestly, I already don't like where this is going at all.
Yeah. No, it's really, you know what the issue is here? Since people have become expensive now, employee efficiency has become a key factor. Because all businesses are really operating at their limits, due to the fact that interest rates are quite high right now, expenses have increased, taxes have gone up, and people are now asking for much higher salaries. And that's why those enterprises and companies that don't improve their efficiency simply have no chance of surviving. Honestly, I talk to a lot of businesses, I work a lot as a mentor too. I see this, and I see that only those businesses survive, just like in professional sports. It's all about those tiny percentages here and there, a little better in one place, a bit better in another, and that's how you keep your margin. If you miss even a little something somewhere, if your sales department, for example, spends time surveying a client, something our AI does at night or in the morning, a person surveys another person happily at a convenient time and writes it down, this is fundamentally different, really. So the first model is when someone leaves a request somewhere, it goes to the sales department, and the sales department has to get in touch and figure out the client's needs. This takes half an hour of conversation, sometimes even more. Then some time passes and the client is left hanging, and the sales department isn't selling yet. They're still figuring out the needs, and that's what takes up most of their time. But here in our case, our assistant takes on this role, they conduct the survey and already collect a significant amount of data so that the sales manager only needs to make one specific precise move, I would even say a direct shot, hitting the target exactly, meaning giving the client exactly what they want quickly and efficiently. And as a result, the sales cycle is drastically shortened, and accordingly, efficiency increases many times over. That's why there are actually a huge number of indirect advantages from using the service. At the very beginning of our conversation, I mentioned why I became interested in this topic. Because as an entrepreneur, I see tremendous benefits from implementing it. In other words, the benefits are an order of magnitude greater than the cost. And the speed of implementation is simply phenomenal. It gets done very quickly, and that's important too. After all, time is money, and it's an irreplaceable resource.
Yeah, that's right. The biggest problem is not simply just training someone for this, but rather it is about how many valuable leads, let's say, they have to lose before they actually learn how to properly consult and sell really well. Right? And the business is unfortunately forced to go through this process over and over again. To lose sales before someone learns how to consult properly and effectively the way it should be done.
Well, yes, unfortunately or fortunately, I don't even know which. It's true that in many industries, technology now works better than people do. Well,
I remember that you're such an enthusiast, someone who implemented a lot of things in your business, right? And you were like, wow, this is awesome. You didn't need any explanation. I immediately started asking tough questions saying, oh, this is great. Let me show you. We have something to brag about.
no, but seriously, really, it's just that I had a lot of different areas, different businesses. I clearly understand that right now, if you're not super efficient, there's nothing for you to do in the market. That's a fact. If you're not using AI technologies, you're just falling way behind and your costs will eat you alive. Because what AI does in 2 seconds, people spend hours doing. That's already an established fact at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Study how it works, how it can automate your daily work, and how it can help improve your workflow and efficiency. For example, we have a lot of lawyers joining us now, and we make sure to talk to them as well. Before, it used to take us several days to carefully prepare a complaint for court. Now it actually takes longer to pour a cup of coffee than to come, copy, write a few details, hit enter, and your complaint is ready almost instantly. So now the question is, where do we get more clients? Because our processing has become much faster and even more affordable, allowing us to serve more people in less time.
Yes, yes, yes. So scaling becomes much easier and much faster, and the efficiency of employee utilization will be significantly higher. That is, you can afford to have fewer sales managers, but increase their quality to improve your conversion rate.
Thank you for jumping in like that and becoming our partner. I'm really glad you're with us.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Maxim, for such truly great and thoughtful feedback. I really appreciate your kind words and support. It's really very nice and rewarding to be part of this amazing project too. I'm genuinely happy to have joined it, and now I sincerely want to help scale it up and contribute as much as I can. So thank you.